the Seattle Kraken have taken out the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche. And they played a fantastic series too. Everyone stepped up the way they were supposed to, and they move on to the second round. That was their first playoff series win ever in history. It's only their second year, and they're defying the odds essentially. And a lot of people are excited to see what's next for the Seattle Kraken. But the Dallas Stars were expected to beat the Minnesota Wild. They do it, and they're moving on to the second round. So a very unlikely matchup between these two teams. Everyone expected Colorado versus Dallas, but that is not the case. So, who wins this series, the Seattle Kraken or the Dallas Stars? Honestly, I love both of these teams. If I could pick both, I would, but I got to stick with my guns. And I said that Dallas was going to somehow make it to the Stanley Cup finals. So I got to go with Dallas. But it's going to be a very hard, long, and fought series. 7 games for Dallas. And here's why. The Dallas Stars had a lot of solid players during the deadline. Evgeny Dandanov, who's been fantastic. He has 4 points in his last 6 games in the playoffs. He reunites with Peter DeBoer. They've had a connection with each other in Vegas. So you have that going on. You have Max Domi, who they added. Max Domi was playing top 6 minutes with the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, he's taken a step down, but for him to be playing third line minutes, very impressive in terms of their depth. You have Mason Marchment, who's been playing a lot better in the playoffs. Wyatt Johnson continues to be successful. Tyler Seguin has been one of their best players during this playoff run so far. So, it's nice to see him being bumped up from the third line to the first line. You have Jamie Benn doing well. Just an overall good team. And then looking at their defense here, Ryan Suter, a very experienced defenseman. He takes out his old team in Minnesota. Miro Heiskanen, who continues to do well. Um, Very underrated decor. And then the guy that stole the show, Jake Oettinger. He was phenomenal in the series versus Minnesota. We saw what he was capable of doing in the playoffs against the Calgary Flames. A big reason why they went to 7 games, even though they lost. And he continues to be successful in the playoffs. But the status of Joe Pavelski, we do not know what's going on. We know he's dealing with a concussion. He dealt with a concussion before in the playoffs against San Jose Sharks when Peter DeBoer was his coach. So it seems like him and Peter DeBoer kind of have a bad history together in terms of Pavelski's health in the playoffs. But I do like this Dallas Stars team. There's a lot to expect from them, but they're getting the job done. But a guy that's leading the points so far in the playoffs, Rupe Hintz. He's been phenomenal. He's one of the most underrated forwards in the league, one of the most underrated players in the league. Point final, in my opinion, and this team's going to continue to be successful. But in terms of the Seattle Kraken, they have a lot of depth on the wings. Probably one of the best winger depth in the league. And when you have guys like Brandon Tanev, who is a very energetic forward. Yanni Gord, who got into a couple of scraps and got a couple of points as well. Jordan Eberle being clutch, which he's known for being clutch. We saw what he was capable of doing in the World Juniors with Team Canada a long time ago. Jaden Schwartz being the best forward in terms of points and in terms of defense. Justin Schultz really stepping it up. He has a good history in terms of playoff success under the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it's nice to see him stepping it up, even though he's playing a third pairing role. And Vince Dunn continue to do well, their best defenseman, of course. And then looking at their goaltending situation, everyone thought that Martin Jones was going to start, but they count on Philip Grubauer, who has playoff success and experience, and he's been doing a fine ass job. And he takes out his former team in the Colorado Avalanche. But there is some injuries here to take into consideration. Jared McCann, a very important player for the Seattle Kraken, just as Joe Pavelski is important for the Dallas Stars. He is out. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. And Andre Burakovsky as well. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he should be back sometime soon during the second round of this playoff series.
Yeah, well, I want to first congratulate the Seattle Kraken and all their fans for an amazing series against the Colorado Avalanche. They really did shock everybody with that series win. I thought that Seattle did exactly what I expected them to do, which was play their style. And I look, I know that we had Colorado in five. I had Colorado in five during the first round prediction. But what I said was, if there's one team in the playoffs that can upset the Colorado Avalanche, it's the Seattle Kraken. And I was right about that. And the reason I'm right about that is because, listen, Seattle's just got four lines that can roll, four lines that can score, four lines that can hit, four lines that can do pretty much everything that you ask a team to do, right? And although they don't have one specific superstar talented player as of yet, they play as a team, they play as a unit, right? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they play a style that isn't always the prettiest, but at the same time, it's a style that works. And um credit where credit's due. I think Dave Haxtell, came into this series with a right mindset. I think the fact that Seattle was able to play at home in these playoff series really helped them out in terms of gaining that playoff experience. And I think for these guys, it's a great experience for them as well. So good on Seattle. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. And Philip Grubauer just turned himself around in the playoffs. Like this guy has a 926 save percentage. He was fantastic in the series against his former team. And he really honestly stole games that I didn't think he was going to be able to. So credit to Philip Grubauer for bouncing back. I'm curious to see how he's going to do against Dallas. With that being said, let's talk about Dallas. Now, Dallas is interesting because they have, a key guy out in Joe Pavelski, who they lost in game one of the series against Minnesota. But they have a really good team, right? Jason Robertson, it took a while for him to get going in this series. He finally did. Rupe Hintz, who scored a hat trick in, I believe, the 7-3 win against Minnesota. I believe that was in game two that happened. Um, you know, fantastic player, has been the biggest reason why Dallas is where they are. But obviously the big question mark, or the big reason as to why Dallas is where they are is because of Jake Ottinger, who had a lot of scouts and a lot of coaches and a lot of analysts as well have tipped him as the next Carey Price in terms of the way he plays in the playoffs and how calm he is. To me personally, I love this matchup. I really do. And the reason I love this matchup is because it's exactly the type of matchup that, like you said before, nobody expected, right? A lot of people, and if you ask a lot of people outside of the hockey community, a lot of people had Minnesota and Colorado in round two. Not a lot of people had Dallas and Seattle, right? I don't think anybody had Seattle beating Colorado unless I missed that
Well, I
here.
had Dallas beating Minnesota, so
Yeah,
I guess I'm one of those rare people.
but I'm saying, like, in general, like, this is a series that is so unexpected, but I feel like it's going to be so fun to watch. And look, Seattle's gonna do what they did against Colorado. They're gonna find Dallas's weaknesses. I think Dallas defensively in this series struggled at times, and Ottinger was able to keep them in. But I think one thing that Colorado um, was unable to do was put the puck in the net against Seattle. They just couldn't find a way to do it, and that's something that I think Dallas did very well against Minnesota. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. I'm confident in Dallas beating Seattle. I think I'm not going to say Dallas in five because I don't believe that. I think this is a series that goes to 6 or 7. I'm going to say Dallas in six. I think Seattle takes one game in Dallas and one game at home. But I think Dallas is going to be too much for them. I think Dallas is well built. I think they've got great depth as well. And Jake Ottinger is going to steal the show because he's been fantastic, not only this year in the playoffs, but even last year when he played against the Calgary Flames. He was just talk of the town. And I think that this year, Jake Ottinger is going to take Dallas as far as he can. And I'm not saying that Seattle's a harder opponent than Minnesota because I don't think they are. But I think it's a different matchup for Dallas, and I think it's going to be an interesting matchup for Dallas. But it's a matchup that I think Dallas is going to win,
Yeah,
arguably.
Makar taking, that
McCann out.
suspension, really hurt him.
Yeah.
Not only that, Makar's been injured throughout the whole season, so I don't think he was 100% either entering the first round series versus Seattle. So that really hurt their chances, and he took a lot of accountability for their elimination. But it was a whole team effort at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, Seattle was the better team. So despite the injuries or whatever excuse you want to say, Seattle deserved it. They were the better team. We watched the games and we thought that they were there to win it. And I thought that at times Colorado seemed like they really weren't in it. They didn't really have anything to really prove, and Seattle had a lot to prove, and that's exactly what they did. Another thing I'd like to point out about Seattle is that Yanni Gord is centering the third line, and Yanni Gord's had a lot of success playing third line minutes with Tampa Bay, with Coleman and Goudreau. So we saw how Oliver Bjorkstrand played. In game 7 versus Colorado, got two key goals to eliminate Colorado, and Eli Tovinen, he's been a great addition too. So, seeing this line, maybe they could be as successful as Yanni Gord's former line in Tampa Bay. Obviously, they're not going to win 2 Stanley Cups in 2 years, but, maybe we see this line be a very key piece. We know how important third and fourth line players are when it comes to playoffs. And just taking a look at their stats right now, Yanni Gord, like I was alluding to before, 6 points in 7 games, one of their best forwards. Jaden Schwartz, who I think it has been their best forward in terms of consistency. Even though, yes, I know he's -5. I'm talking about offensively, the chances he was able to create. He's playing on a top 6 role. Um, I think he's been fantastic. And just looking down, the list here: Eberle, Bjorkstrand, Wenberg, Tolvanen, Geeky, Olosiak, Tanev, Borgen. Like, everyone has had a point except Donato and Froden. Like, that's when you know that you're a very deep team from top to bottom. And then the only person I would say that needs to step it up, or actually two players that need to step it up, Vince Dunn offensively needs to be better, and Matty Beniers needs to step up. And I think they will be a lot better against a team like Dallas. In terms of Dallas's stats, Rupe Hintz, obviously the best playoff player as of right now. Jason Robertson continue to be successful, but biggest surprises here would obviously be Sergei and Dandanov. They really have been key players for Dallas Stars in the playoffs. Mason Marchment, being doing what he has to do as a third line player. Wyatt Johnson has to be a little bit better, even though towards the end of the season, the playoff series, sorry, he has been a lot better, like you were saying before. But yeah, he would be the guy that probably would be the deciding factor in terms of like how well they do offensively. He needs to step up and continue to do what he was doing in the season, and continue to do what he was been doing the last couple of games against the Minnesota Wild. So we'll see what happens, guys. But we'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Who wins this series, the Colorado Avalanche or the Dallas Stars? Make sure to write it in the comment section below. We're always down to debate, as you know, but let's keep it PG or PG-13 at least, not rated R, guys. We saw a couple of crazy comments in the first round of the series and the prediction videos that we covered. So we're always down to talk and have a good time. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. Like this video if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. And thank you so much, guys, for watching.